I think Israel shouldn't even be a state, really.
Okay, thank you.
State.
Thank you.
We got there finally.
Yeah. Okay.
Article 58 of Additional Protocol 1 requires defenders have an obligation to take feasible precautions to protect civilian and civilian objects from the effects of attack, which are called passive precautions. Do you think
Yes.
Hamas is failing in that obligation?
Yeah, that's fine. So do we dispute the fact that like Hamas intentionally targeted civilians and took hostages?
I think the only reason Netanyahu delayed his invasion into northern Gaza was probably because of pressure from the Biden administration. I think the reason Israel is finally opening more crossings into Gaza for aid is because of the Biden administration. I think all of these things are things that Trump probably wouldn't do, and I think if you care about Palestinian people, you should vote for Joe Biden. Hello?
Yes, hello there.
All right, what's up, man?
Yeah, yeah, I am now here, and I am able to speak now.
Okay, great. So basically,
Yes.
okay, I have a few questions, all right?
Yes, what are they?
My first one is always going to be, what do you think Israel should have done in response to October 7th?
Well, I mean, I was answering that, but then the guy, like, said...
Yeah, the other, I
like,
understand. Yeah.
don't go on a 5-minute narrative. Like, but...
Well, you should answer the question and not go on a 5-minute narrative, though.
No, I was answering the question. I was answering the question.
I'll give you a chance to answer the question now, then.
All right. So, but you're gonna have. But I want to speak, but like, let me speak though.
I mean, I'll let you speak, but like, you have to answer the question at some point. All right.
I'm gonna answer the question. So, but I want to ask, what do you think? What do you think would have been a good response to what happened on October 7th?
Basically what they're doing now, there definitely could be some steps that they take to minimize civilian casualties a little further. But I think what they're doing now is basically right. I will say, though, if they want to do a ground invasion of Rafah, they should do a full civilian evacuation of Rafah before invading Rafah.
Do you know what they're doing right now?
I mean, broadly, yeah.
What are they doing right now?
They're invading Gaza. They are blowing up Hamas tunnels. They are trying to kill as many Hamas members as possible. They are trying to flood tunnels. Yeah.
So, okay. Do you understand that the IDF has destroyed like 90 to like 80% of all the buildings in North Gaza? They've blown everything up. Like, they've destroyed all of, like, basically almost all of the infrastructure in North Gaza. They've destroyed, and there's literally videos of people in like cars or like just anywhere. There's like there's videos of massacre after massacre of what the IDF has done. Like, do you know what the IDF or okay. So do you think that is reasonable? Do you think that that's an okay thing for Israel to have done?
I mean, the problem is Hamas doesn't have military infrastructure, right? Hamas operates exclusively out of civilian infrastructure. So anytime Israel tries to go after Hamas, they are necessarily going to have to blow up civilian buildings. But Israel did not only delay its ground invasion in northern Gaza, but it told all people in northern Gaza to evacuate, right?
So you're saying that, you know, Hamas hides in civilian infrastructure, so they have no choice but to destroy buildings with civilians in them.
Well, Israel first of all told the civilians to evacuate, and before Israel blows up buildings, they will call people in the building and tell them to leave the building. But if Israel wants to destroy a Hamas facility in a building, then yeah, they do have to blow up that building. There's necessarily some amount of damage to civilian objects that is going to happen there. There's some amount of civilian damage to objects that is inevitable in all war. The reason why it's so much higher in Gaza is because Gaza is densely populated and because Hamas doesn't operate out of military infrastructure, they operate out of civilian infrastructure.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, I'm pretty sure that they have very extensive tunnel networks under Gaza. So I don't think that whatever militaristic arm of Hamas or the different military factions that are currently fighting within Gaza against the IDF. I really don't think that they're hiding, or at least I don't think that they are primarily staying within infrastructure above ground. They have tunnels and they have rooms underground and places underground that they go to in order to, you know, not like they're all underground basically, and they go above ground what it is that they want to strike whatever targets it is that they want to strike. So I mean, to say that that Hamas hides in like civilian infrastructure, like even if that is the case, if someone within Hamas is hiding within a given building, and then if there's civilians in it, I mean, I that doesn't that's not that's that I think that that would still constitute. I think that that would constitute.
What are those tunnels under though? What are those tunnels under?
Well, you see, the problem, I know, a lot of them are probably under buildings, but that doesn't do you understand that Gaza is one of the most densely populated cities in the world?
Yeah, I know.
So it's kind of difficult with the land that they have if they wanted to build like tunnels where not that many other people are. That would kind of probably be difficult. And also, I mean, they probably want to move around supplies and other things around and be able to get to wherever they have to be at easily. In terms of like their military strategy, which I think is particularly like a guerrilla warfare, I mean, I think it makes sense to do that.
Are you aware of what passive protections are?
Passive protections?
Yeah.
What are they?
So the Geneva Conventions requires forces to take passive precautions against civilians, basically to not intentionally locate near or with civilians. Do you think Hamas is failing in that obligation?
I think that I'm not sure. Like, because if you want me to be honest, I don't think anybody knows what has a map of the tunnel infrastructure under Gaza. So
I notice you, but I'm talking to someone right now, my man. And you don't watch every stream. I know that's not true.
I mean, say what it is. Say what the thing is again.
Forces have a duty to engage in passive precautions, basically. So they have to not co-locate with civilians. Basically, hold on. I want to see if I can find you the exact quote. Article 58 of Additional Protocol 1 requires defenders have an obligation to take feasible precautions to protect civilian and civilian objects from the effects of attack, which are called passive precautions. Do you think Hamas is failing in that obligation?
Well, I mean, it's not directly. I don't think that whatever infrastructure that they probably have is within the buildings itself, because I mean they're underground. But if they were located underground, then if the IDF were to say, "Hey, they are not taking the precautions like it was that you brought up," I don't think that would make sense. Just because that there were buildings above it, because their military infrastructure is below ground. So if they wanted to destroy Hamas, which I mean, in that regard, that's probably why they built the infrastructure, because it's difficult. It would be difficult for them, and it's been difficult because they don't know everywhere where it is that the different militants in Gaza are coming out from. It's like a military. I mean, I'm sure that they've thought of different scenarios in which it is that Israel would invade, and how it is that they can best fight back. And I think that tunnels, in terms of what it is that they've done, I think that makes sense. And I don't. It doesn't. That doesn't targeting civilian infrastructure above tunnels. Could they
But
build?
Hamas
Like, could they
intentionally
build?
places tunnels
Say
under
again?
civilian buildings, right?
Well,
Or do you disagree with that?
intentionally, like, well, intent. I mean, intent. If they intentionally built tunnels under cities, I don't think that the purpose probably would be like, hey, we want you to target these civilians above us, but probably as like a means of like a supply chain to get different supplies
Well,
from one place to another.
The purpose of
Or,
placing the tunnels where they are is that it makes it very hard for Israel to attack those tunnels without also attacking civilians.
well, I mean, so
That's why they operate out of the basements of buildings. That's why they place tunnels there. That's why they operate out of UN schools. That's why they operated out of El Shifa.
they operate out of UN schools. Where do you get that? Because I know that Israel bombed a UN school and they killed like a bunch of little kids. So even if there was someone from Hamas within a UN school, that still wouldn't. I think that constitutes a war crime if it was, because I know that they did. I know that they did target, I think, a UN school, and they killed like a bunch of kids. There's like
my understanding is that on 2 separate occasions, Hamas has been caught using or operating out of a UN school. And Israel did strike one of those schools. And by the way, just because Hamas is hiding within a school, that does not mean Israel has an infinite right to bomb that school and kill everyone in it. But even civilian infrastructure, if it is being used with a military purpose, it can be lawfully targeted. It's not a war crime. Anything, even a hospital, if it has a military purpose, can be targeted lawfully.
Okay, well, I don't think that the hospitals had a military purpose, because I remember I think maybe you've seen that there was like a 3D graphic that Israel made that Benjamin Netanyahu posted on his Twitter, like where it was like a 3D image graphic thing, which showed that below a hospital there were like tunnel infrastructure, but there's absolutely no proof that there are tunnel infrastructure underground like it was in that specific 3D graphic. Like, maybe I can find it if you haven't seen it, but
Didn't Israel just wrap up its operation in El Shifa, where it killed a leader of Hamas, as well as 200 other terrorists that were operating there?
Well, they bombed that hospital, and I think that they killed more than 200 people.
Well, this wasn't when they bombed it. This was just recently when they used special forces to go in it. The head of manpower in Hamas's military wing was in El Shifa, and they killed him. Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, I don't trust the Israel Defense Forces Twitter. Like, I don't trust that they've actually found someone. Even if it was,
okay,
that doesn't mean what they did was okay. That doesn't mean if there was one person within Hamas that happened to be within that hospital, that doesn't justify bombing it and killing 200 people.
Well, again, they didn't bomb it. They used special forces to go in there. And secondly, it doesn't automatically justify it, but it seems because there's still proportionality rules that apply. So an attack can be disproportionate, even if they were trying to go after Hamas members. But this wasn't like one lone Hamas member. This was like a policy Hamas had where they like intentionally operated out of this hospital.
I'm pretty sure that they did bomb that hospital and they killed 200 people. That was a recent thing. That
wasn't the recent operation there. The most recent operation in El Shifa wasn't a bomb. It was like forces on the ground going into El Shifa.
I swear I could have. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
I think El Shifa was bombed at one point, but
and I think in the bombing that happened recently, or in some sort of operation, they killed like hundreds of people.
I think they definitely did. I know they killed 200 terrorists in El Shifa recently.
200 terrorists. 200 terrorists. 200 terrorists.
That is
200
the
terrorists
most recent operation Israel.
Civilians.
In the most recent operation in El Shifa, Israel claims to have killed 200 terrorists.
Israel claims. Do you trust Israel? Do you trust their claims?
I don't automatically trust them, but there isn't any evidence to the other side yet. I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough evidence.
Do you really trust? Are you going to trust when Israel says after this entire operation, after everyone that they killed, that when it is that Israel or on one of Israel's Twitter pages, that when they say or in some other place when it is that Israel claims we killed 200 terrorists, are you just gonna are you gonna take their word for it?
I'm not automatically going to trust them, especially when they've been proven wrong in certain things before. But like, if you have evidence that El Shifa wasn't used as like a terrorist operating site, you can link that. But it seems like the evidence we have now. But regardless, they definitely were. UNRWA has even admitted to finding Hamas weapons stored in schools. Hamas has operated out of these areas before, so that's the justification for like Israel bombing them.
I think that everyone's saying that Hamas is operating out of this, Hamas is operating out of that. They are the elected officials of Gaza. So even if they are Hamas officials in this place or that place, they're the elected officials of that given territory.
But they're failing.
They are elected.
That they're committing a war crime. They're failing in their passive precautions. It's a war crime to operate out of UN schools. It's a war crime to do that. That's a war crime, and it's bad, even if it wasn't a war crime.
But Israel targeting a hospital and striking that given place, that's not a war crime. That doesn't.
It could be a war crime if it was disproportionate. It would depend if it's disproportionate or not.
So killing 200 or potentially killing over hundreds of civilians. That's not
killing civilians alone isn't a war crime. It has to either be disproportionate or it has to fail distinction.
Targeting a hospital, I think that does. I think that would.
If that hospital has a military purpose, then it's not a war crime to target that hospital. Now, the attack could still be disproportionate in that the damage to civilians outweighed the military gain that Israel got by attacking the hospital. It's possible that attack was disproportionate, but we don't know because Israel doesn't make its. I will criticize Israel for this. Israel doesn't make its intelligence as public as even the U.S. does. So we don't know how many people or how many civilians Israel expected to die when they bombed El Shifa. Proportionality assessments have to be made every time Israel bombs a place, right? Israel has to make an estimate of how many civilians are going to die from the strike, and is it worth it for the military gain that we achieve? Israel doesn't make some of those things public, which I think they should.
I mean, even if they did make it public, they probably lie about it. They've lied about a bunch of shit involving this, about all of this. I mean, do you know about how there was some people who went over to Gaza there was one Polish person, one person from Australia, one person from the UK, and there was a Palestinian helper. It was 7 people that died. They were a part of this organization called the World Kitchen.
Yeah, you're talking about the recent World Kitchen strike? Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
Yeah. Do you think that with what happened, do you think that that's justified?
I don't think it's justified, but it was obviously a mistake. I think it's way more implausible to suggest that so airstrikes like this have to go up the chain of command, right? There have to be multiple people that approve an airstrike like this, okay? Do you think that all of those people woke up and said, I want to kill a bunch of aid workers today for no reason?
Do I think... Wait. Do I think what?
Do you think that all the people who approved the airstrike knew that it was actually aid workers and just said, I want to be evil today, so let's kill them? Do you think that happened?
The truth is that I don't know. I don't know why the hell it is. You know what? The funny thing is that UNRWA, Israel is trying to, they want to ban UNRWA from operating within Palestinian territories or whatever. So then these World Kitchen workers were like supposed to be their replacement, right? So they were given legal authority to operate within Gaza by Israel, but then they were still targeted. So that's like how like Israel's word isn't even you shouldn't even take Israel's word whenever it is that they say, hey, you can operate legally, because look at what happened. 7 people who were in the World Kitchen, they got murdered.
So do you think that was intentional, or do you think it was a mistake?
There's no way that it was a mistake, because
So everyone that approved that airstrike said, I want to be evil today.
Okay, hold on. The car that they were in, they were hit by a car inside of their one car originally. They went out of that car. They went to the next one. They were striked again in the car that they went out of to get to the next one. They went out of that car, and then they were killed in the third one. There's no way that they did that by mistake. There's no way. Everyone
that approved that airstrike just thought that they wanted to kill aid workers. They thought they were killing aid workers.
I have no idea what happened. I don't know.
So you agree it could have been a mistake? They could have been mistakenly targeted.
I mean, mistakenly targeted as in
as in they thought that they were blowing up a Hamas convoy when they did it. They didn't think they were blowing up aid workers.
Yeah, that missile went right through their logo on the car.
So the drones that they use for these things are infrared cameras, and it was nighttime, so they couldn't see the logo of the car. Okay, so the logo means nothing. It's meaningless.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, even it's just, they just, I don't know. But regardless, that's just...
How do you not know? Can you like assign probabilities to it? Can you say like there's a 20% chance that they were mistakenly targeted and an 80% chance that the IDF wanted to be evil that day and they all decided to kill aid workers for no reason? Can you like...
Okay. Well, I don't... It's just insane how they can accidentally... But what will that say? If they did make a mistake, right? And then they were like, oh, we thought that these were all terrorist Hamas people. But what would that say about the IDF? What would that imply about the IDF?
Well, it shows that they failed in deconfliction. And they've already taken steps to make it better. They've already suggested better deconfliction efforts to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. But it obviously reflects poorly on the IDF. It obviously is a signal that the IDF can be incompetent.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, how do you target your own workers that you have said that you can operate, and then you blow them up and then you destroy them?
Okay, but there's difference between being incompetent and being like intentional, right? So it's possible that Israel does something and it's incompetent, and that leads to people dying. That leads to civilians dying. Yeah. But when Hamas kills civilians, right? Hamas is intentionally going after those civilians, right? Or do you disagree with that?
When they go after civilians, well, on specifically October 7th?
Specifically on October 7th, when they paraglided into Nova Music Festival. Do you think that was recklessness, or do you think that was intentional?
The thing is, the truth is that I don't know if Hamas has some sort of document. Actually, I think that they do. I think that they might actually.
Okay, so Israel killed Hamas members on October 7th, and they actually found plans that they had that said that it specifically mentioned, for instance, to take civilian hostages.
Well, okay. Well, hold on. I think that the operation was called Al-Aqsa Flood.
Al-Aqsa Flood, yeah. But do you think it was just recklessness that Hamas ended up killing 800 civilians, or do you think that was intentional? The answer is really like I can pull up a phone call of a son who called his dad, and I think what they did was
I think that it was intentional. They did want to like try and do something. I don't think that it was just for no purpose. It was. I really don't. The thing is that I don't know. I know what happened on October 7th, but simultaneously, like, I don't. Everything that's happened on October 7th, there's also like a bunch of lies that surround that day that it just makes me like skeptical about like saying, okay, that I know for sure what it was that their operational plans were, or what exactly they
it's
wanted
fine
to
to
achieve.
be skeptical about certain things, but so back to my original question: what do you think Israel should have done after October 7th?
Okay. Well, I think what Israel could have done, because I think that it's kind of like it's kind of a big question because I'm not in the IDF. I don't know exactly how it is that they operate. I don't know how it is that they decide what it is that they're gonna do. Because, well, actually, I do. I mean, I think I do, but it's okay. Okay, but I think I also asked you, what do you think that they could have done?
Basically, what they're doing. I think basically what they're doing is the appropriate response. There are maybe a few specific things that they could be doing. For instance, like I said, if they want to do a ground invasion of Rafah, they should do a full civilian evacuation of Rafah before they do that. They are finally starting to open up more crossings to let aid in, but I think they should have opened up more crossings to let aid in prior to this. And basically, I think Israel should be more willing to accept a ceasefire with the release of hostages for a temporary period to allow humanitarian aid in.
Honestly, I'm not sure what it is that they. I mean, they definitely did not have to fucking do what they've done, which is kill, massacre like tens of thousands of people. I mean, that's obviously something that they didn't have to do. But also, I think that it's kind of like what happened on October 7th was a sort of, I mean, I think that something like this was probably inevitable eventually with how it is that Israel treats Palestinians and with how it is that they just operate the Gaza Strip. And, I mean, I don't think that what's happened. That's just not. It didn't have to actually happen. It didn't have to be like this.
Well, I mean, I agree. None of this would have happened if Hamas didn't invade on October 7th, right?
I mean, this is just October 7th. Really, is just a pretext. It's just like them saying it's just an excuse. What they want to do is they just want to take basically all Gaza. They want to make all the Palestinian population, because I think that there was a classified Israeli document that was written in Hebrew, and if you translate it to English, it says like a bunch of the different potential plans that Israel has for the Gaza Strip, and one of them was to evacuate all the civilians out of Gaza. Or,
there was a plan to temporarily evacuate civilians into the Sinai, but I think Egypt and Canada and the U.S. all rejected that.
Yeah, because why the hell? That would be horrible for Egypt. That would be horrible for Palestinians. That would be horrible for everyone. I mean,
the plan was to temporarily station civilians in the Sinai while Israel can get rid of Hamas in Gaza, and then the civilians would come back.
No, I don't think that was the plan. The plan is to expel them and to not have them come back.
Well, that was what the plan said. You can say maybe they had some secret motivation, but
the specific document, because I think I have it downloaded, but I don't know.
Okay, well, are you gonna? Do you mind if I bring in that Israeli person again? He wants to talk to you.
What does he want? What does he want to talk about? Like, honestly, like, what does he want to talk about?
Well, I can bring him
I
in
don't
here.
want,
And
I don't want him. I don't want him to be disrupting me because right now we're just talking fine. If he comes in here, he's just gonna like start. He's not gonna let me finish speaking, and I'm just gonna get angry.
I'll make him proud. I'll tell you what. If he starts interrupting you too much, I'll remove him from the call.
What does he want to even start?
I don't know. I think he just wants in on our conversation. Yeah, he damned me saying he'll be respectful.
Whatever.
All right. Thanks, Red Radius.
What's up?
What's
Okay.
up?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I'll be respectful. I'll be super chill. Okay, don't worry about it. So what would you? Okay, how would you summarize your view of this, or like what proposition are you debating right now? Like, what are you on right now?
We're like just
Basically,
going back and forth about what could have happened.
We were talking
After
about basically
October
what
7th.
Israel should have done after October 7th, and whether or not civilian is or whether or not Israel is trying to minimize civilian casualties or not.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine. So do we dispute the fact that like Hamas intentionally targeted civilians and took hostages?
He says he doesn't know.
Well, no, I do know that they took hostages, and they did shoot people, and they did kill people. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
is that a
Does
matter
he
of policy
express
for them?
intention to? No, I mean, why would they all know how to go, like, to go to the hospitals, and would they have like a pretty efficient hostage distribution? Like, they hit the hostages pretty fast, right? It's very unlikely that like they didn't plan to take hostages. They just happened to take 200 hostages and
Oh yeah,
perfectly.
they definitely probably did intend to take hostages.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
that's
So
fine.
what should
you said-
Israel's
you
response
said-
be to that?
Yeah,
So
what
what
do you
would my response be to
What
that
should
they
Israel do?
intended to take hostages?
No, what should Israel do when an organization intentionally takes hostages into their territory?
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, if you're trying to take hostages, you're trying to use that as leverage because right now, I mean, Israel has a bunch of basically innocent Palestinians locked up in jails and for no fucking reason. So, I mean, they can
you
say,
think that's
hey,
comparable?
we will let these people out if you let those people out. So, I mean, it's leverage.
Do you think that's comparable?
Well, comparable as
Also, it's a war crime, right? I mean, you might say
It
it's
is
a
a
good
war.
war
Taking
crime, but we
hostages is
agree
a war
it's-
crime. Yeah.
yeah,
well,
we agree.
comparable as in
Do you think Israel's prisoners in the West Bank are morally equivalent to Palestine taking hostages?
do I think that? Wait. Repeat again.
Yeah, so Israel has hostages that you mentioned, right? We
Yeah.
can dispute like it's definitely not all arbitrary. I mean, Sinwar was one of the hostages traded in the Gilad Shalit agreement, so it's definitely not. Oh, they just have a billion,
Yeah,
innocent
well, there
people.
are innocent people that they have. There are people that have.
I don't know to what extent, but unlikely that every one of them is literally with a good reason there. So yeah, I'll go with sure. I just agree that it's like as a matter of systemic policy, but whatever. That's besides the point. You might say, "Oh, Hamas took hostages to leverage it against Israel." That's fine, but what you're doing now is you're giving a reason for the war crime, right? We agree on the baseline that it's a war crime.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what everything constitutes a war crime, but like, I mean, if that does constitute a war crime, then then it could be a war crime.
Under Common Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions, it's a war crime to take hostages.
What does it say? What does it say? Common Article 3.
Yeah, Rule
Persons
96,
taking no active. Oh, sorry,
okay,
you got it.
All right, you go.
No, you go.
Okay. So ICRC website, Rule 96, not 69. Hostage taking. State practice establishes this as a rule, norm, customary international law, applicable both international law. Here, Common Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions prohibits the taking of hostages. Whoa. It is also prohibited by the Fourth Geneva Convention and is considered a grave breach thereof. These provisions were to some extent a departure from international law as it stood at the time. Blah, 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 blah. But like, yeah, it's prohibited definitely across the board to take hostages in war.
Well, then okay. Well, then it could constitute a war crime.
Yeah, a grave breach, even. But I mean, That's fine. So, do you think it was? I presume I don't know. What you're giving like the reason why Hamas does it. Hamas benefits from hostages. That's of course true. But like, do you think they should have?
Well, do I think that they should? I mean, to let out potentially people that haven't done anything. I mean, leverage. I'm not like it's a difficult question. I think it can be difficult to answer, but it's just like it's kind of like what else is it that they could have potentially done?
Yeah. So the premise is kind of false. It's not to release people who are innocent. It's like they like they know some of the people released did do terror attacks, but they still want them released, right? Um, like many of them. Again, Sinwar in the Gilad. Do you know about the Gilad Shalit hostage trade?
What is that? Or
Okay,
when's
so
that?
Gilad Shalit, he was the hostage. He was taken hostage. I think in Kaslet. I don't remember when. But he was taken into Gaza. So he was a soldier, kidnapped into Gaza, taken hostage, and there was a big movement to release him. And eventually, Israel traded just releasing Gilad Shalit for 1,000 prisoners. Um, and Sinwar was one of the. Sinwar is now, I think, the leader of Hamas in Gaza. I don't remember
Yep.
his specific
Yeah.
role. But yeah, and he was one of the people released in that agreement.
Yeah.
Um,
And he
right,
planned
so,
the
so it's
October 7th
like
attacks.
yeah, it was yeah.
Well,
Also, I mean, we agree Israel wasn't like you also said something about like with how Israel controlled Gaza before. Israel didn't control Gaza before October 7th, right?
I mean, Israel basically, I mean, they control all the borders. They control what goes in and out. I mean, there might not be settlers within Gaza, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, they control what goes in and out. So in effect, they they kind of like de facto like control the Gaza Strip, and they don't recognize Hamas as the elected authority within Gaza. They I mean, in effect,
Hamas doesn't hold elections, right?
Yeah.
Well, it
well,
held
I
one.
mean,
Not anymore. I mean, not anymore.
I don't. Okay. Well,
I mean, it doesn't matter. The Palestinians would have in Gaza would have voted for Hamas either way. I don't think that matters.
okay.
Um, I mean, if you look at their opinions.
Yeah.
Um, but do you know Egypt also has a blockade on Gaza, right? Israel's control over Gaza, um, like it extends from Egypt just because they like it's more than Egypt because I think they control the population registry, the seaport, and the air. But that's I think that's where it begins and ends. Like, would you say Egypt also uh, controls Gaza and manages it, or like
I
seventy
mean,
percent of it?
I think that I'm not exactly sure how it is that it works with Egypt, but I mean, they also, I mean, can also, I mean, but Israel, I think, tells Egypt on their border to not allow this and not allow that, whatever it is that goes into South Gaza.
Do you
But
think Egypt has a good reason to do this?
um,
Why do
do
you
I think
think
that?
why do you think it is that
Yeah,
like
why
Gaza is under more restrictions in the West Bank?
or why does Egypt also blockade Gaza? Is it because Israel tells them to, or is it because Egypt has a reason of their own? It's fine to not know, but the Muslim Brotherhood, right? Um, yeah,
Uh, well, see, like we're it's. I'm not exactly
okay, that's
like.
fine. That's fine. So historically, the Egypt has a lot of troubles coming from the Gaza Strip. Hamas is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. They pooed their whole history of Egypt. That doesn't matter. Maybe we can refocus. What would you? Okay, so you're Israel. Okay, you're Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, God Emperor Netanyahu. I love him so much. I don't, just for the record. So you're him on October 7th. What would you have done? So
Well,
people
I mean,
like
I'm not a insane psychopath like him. I'm not a fucking like. I'm not Benjamin Netanyahu. That I mean
No,
that
you know what I said, right? You know what I meant, right?
yeah, I know what you meant, but I'm Benjamin Netanyahu. What is it that I decide? Because I'm the prime minister of Israel, and then October 7th happens. Well, if I'm fucking the there in that position somehow, then I'm like, all right, we're. I mean, personally, I think that
Mm.
what should have been done probably is there's a lot of things that should be done. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Do you think like that Hamas? Would you have said like that's a probably initiation of war, October 7th, right? Invading into your country, killing innocents and kidnapping them. Would that be like an initiation of war?
Well, I mean, the problem is that those people were right outside of a blocked in place where these people are not allowed to go in and out. Everything is restricted. Those people that were around the border of Gaza who were doing like whatever music festivals or the kibbutz or whatever,
Mhm.
um, how how is it that you are just outside of that and then you're okay with that? How
What
are
do you
you just
mean?
outside? Well, how is it that you can be outside of a like what can
Yeah,
be?
so it's very simple. You're a 20-year-old or like 25-year-old. Like my neighbor, I'll give my neighbor. She's a survivor from Nova. I'll not say her name, of course. But like you're a 25-year-old. There's a party, and you go there and you party. Right? It's kind of straightforward. That's kind of like the logic of it.
Do you accept that it's a war crime to have attacked those people?
I think he did.
To have do what to people?
To kill those civilians at like the Nova Festival that were partying right outside the open air prison?
Well,
Concentration camp open air prison. Don't forget.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it basically is because
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. Of course, of
I
course.
mean, if you can't, like, you can't, if you go out, you can't go back in, and if
Oh,
you,
really? That's interesting. You want to look up like how many people cross to the Eras crossing every year?
I don't really know. I don't know everything about like about that, but
Yeah, that's why we have Google. I mean,
well, so ask
well,
again. Ask the question again.
yeah. So if I look up Erez crossing, there are two crossings. There's Rafah crossing and Erez crossing. Erez is within Israel. So if I look up people who cross the Erez from Gaza in and out per month, right? Where would you put, like, how many people do you think a month in like 2019? Let's take 2019, 2018, whatever year you want. Before COVID, because COVID, there were lockdowns. But like, right, like take 2019, 2017, 2018. How many people per month do you think cross the border between Gaza and Israel? The concentration camp open air prison. How many people do you think a month
I'm
cross
not
it? Just
sure.
give me just give me a whatever. Wild, like, what do you call it? Ballpark. I mean,
Uh, maybe like 1,000 people, maybe.
okay. So if we look up Erez crossing, non-fun, do you want to look it up on stream?
Oh yeah, sure. All right. What
Yeah,
year do you
look
want me
up.
to look at?
Wait, how do I mute YouTube? Can I mute YouTube? No, I can't. Okay.
Can
Well,
somehow.
let me open your Twitch. 1 second. I just want to watch it. It's in. Okay, wait. Give me 1 second. Twitch. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah. So look up Gisha. GIS
GIS. What?
A. Oh wait. Give me a second. Give me a second. 1 second. I can hear myself. Oh my god. Okay. Forget about Twitch. Forget about Discord. Okay. Forget about YouTube. Okay. Sorry. Look up GISHA Erez, which is EREZ crossing monthly. Right. You should see. They're like an NGO. They're not a right wing NGO. They're a very left wing. Gisha. Um, it translates to access, their name, and they keep track of the monthly crossing. One of the things they do is keep track of the monthly crossing over the Erez crossing in and out of Gaza. It's in the I think it's tens of thousands a month. In 2019, I think in total there were like 120,000 people crossed the Erez crossing. So I mean, can you name me a concentration camp, open air prison, death camp?
For what reason? Why
whatever.
were they crossing?
Well, it actually separates them by reason. I think some are merchants, some are personal, some are like for jobs, right? Like a lot of people
Yeah.
from Gaza would have worked in Israel, and then go back to Gaza, because like the currency in Gaza is shekels, right?
Yeah.
It breaks it down, right? Does it? If I
Yeah, it
remember
does. It
correctly.
doesn't tell me what year this is. Oh yes, it does.
It
823.
should,
This
it
is by the
should.
month. Yeah, it does. Yeah. So
Yeah, I wouldn't look at. Okay, so 23 is problematic because of October, but before
Yeah.
that, I think it was like it in 2019.
yeah, it's like
Don't look at
in,
2020, 21
for
because
example,
of COVID.
September
If you look at
2022. It's September 2022. 38,000 merchants crossed, and then 2,300 patients crossed,
I wouldn't look at
and 1,500
2022
other
or
people.
2000 or I wouldn't look at 2020 or
This is just to
2021 because of
further
COVID.
this.
These are
Oh
like,
wait, here we go. I found the drop down
yeah,
menu.
look at 2019 or even if you want 2017
2019
because like that's pretty much a return too.
Yeah, it's like monthly crossings, so like at 20,000 almost in total.
Yeah, so I mean, I just don't know of many concentration camps where like people can move in and out for jobs and merchants.
Well, maybe the right
Of
word
course, there
to
are
describe
restrictions.
Gaza might not be a concentration camp, but definitely it's not like an open place. It definitely is under
no.
Israeli control, like
It's
fully.
not under Israeli control, but it's under blockade and it's restricted.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hamas controls Gaza. Israel has not been occupying it since 2005. So yeah, I mean, I don't so like that. It's just every time we use a label, I mean, we should think, okay, what justifies this label, and then we should go back a couple steps, try to look at data that would corroborate it, and most of the time it doesn't, right? Which is problematic. So I mean, so maybe we could go back, like if you could choose a response to October 7th, right? Terror group. It's fine if you say Israel has brought it about. It's fine if you want to say that. That's not my question.
well, I mean, they
Just-
did, but
I know maybe you want to say that. That's fine if you want to say that. I know you want to say that. I'm saying.
well, I mean, I'm
given-
just saying, but that's not my like answer to what should have been done on October 7th. I'm not sure if I have an answer, but I mean, what it is that the state of Israel has been doing. I mean, they brought on
Okay.
themselves.
Sure. I don't agree, but that's fine. So who do you think turns down the ceasefire deals?
Who do you think turns down the ceasefire deals? As in, like, I think that there's been multiple calls for ceasefires from both sides, and I think that most of them, or there was a ceasefire deal that was agreed on. I think during like halfway
November.
Ramadan or something, and then every single ceasefire deal was like denied until like halfway through Ramadan, and I think that then there was a ceasefire deal that was agreed upon. But I think that even then, like, Israel was still firing bombs at people, even when it was that there was a ceasefire.
Why would they not? Why would they cease fire before the ceasefire?
Well, what? Because
Why would they seize the fire before the ceasefire?
I think that there was a ceasefire called in the middle of the month of Ramadan or halfway through Ramadan.
No.
Or I don't know.
Well,
I
don't know
thought
what
I
it's called.
just
Wait, I don't know what it's called. When you say cold, you mean like the UN thing, or are you just like talking about the actual offers that people can turn down and up?
Well, I'm not
call-
completely sure. I'm not completely sure. I just could have sworn that there was something like that. There was some sort of call for.
What do you okay? What do you think
Well, I mean,
happens if
there's
Hamas
been a lot of
surrenders and gives back
calls
the
from
hostages?
ceasefire, but like
What
even
do
like
I
San
think happened?
Francisco.
Wait.
What do you think? What would you think happens if tomorrow Hamas surrenders and gives back the hostages? What do you think happens to the Gaza population? What do you think happens?
I think potentially the same thing. Everything that's been going on. except maybe even worse, because now that there's nobody fighting back, then they're just going to do whatever it is that they want to do, like without anyone trying to stop them, which is probably to remove everyone that's Palestinian outside of the Gaza Strip and somewhere else, wherever else, and for Israel to potentially move settlers into the Gaza Strip, potentially. But I'm not sure, because I don't know exactly what it is that they would do, because that's like a hypothetical scenario that there's no way that that's going to happen. I don't think that there's any way that's going to happen.
Okay. Do you think Israeli warning practices, right? Like we agree Israel does warn people to evacuate areas before it bombs, and it tries to notify civilians to move out of harm's way. We agree Israel tries to do that?
I think that it depends. I think that to say every single time that they bomb a building, they warn the people.
Oh, definitely not.
Well, they don't have to do it every time. They only have to do it when it's feasible to do it.
Yeah. I mean, would you say something like Israel's warning practices are the golden standard?
I do recall that there was like a building where a news station, I think it might have been Al Jazeera, was working out of some sort of building somewhere.
It's AP.
Like
AP. You're talking about an AP in 21.
What? Say again?
Are you talking about AP, like Associated Press in 21?
Yeah,
maybe
I remember that.
Maybe,
yeah.
But I could have sworn that they did warn those people to get out in 30 minutes. But like, I don't know. Like,
was it in the war or before the war? Are you talking about, because that
before, I mean, obviously, it's before all of this. It obviously that's before what's been happening for the past few months. They did warn those people, but I don't think that they every single time that they bomb a building, which probably has civilians in it, that they warn every single time, like every single person.
And they're not required to, but like you. Okay, so here are a couple things. Tell me which one you agree with, which one you don't think happened. Okay, these are just not opinions. These are just like things that either happened or didn't happen. So Israel has like a system for telephoning. Is that a word? Phoning people to warn, and with also cultural training to like communicate better and to warn better. And they dropped leaflets, and they exceed the requirements by international law. And international law experts call, like, at least like some supreme international law experts call this like the golden standard of warning practices. And Hamas doesn't do any of it. Hamas doesn't warn. Hamas doesn't care to notify. Hamas intentionally hunts down people who are civilians. So I said, look, 7 things here. Which one do you agree with? Which one do you disagree with?
So you said that. Okay. I'm sorry. I was typing to someone. So you said that like Israel is considered like the gold standard at like warning people when a strike is about to happen.
So there are requirements by international law about the duty to warn, and Israel exceeds them. They do things they're not required to at all to do, but they still do it in order to warn people, right? Like there is, for example, do you agree that Israel multiple times dropped leaflets, right? Just a bunch of paper with like a message, hey, evacuate, we're going to do this and that. Okay? Please evacuate the area. No law requires this at all. And I don't know of any army who ever did this. There might have been. I'm just ignorant.
Do we
agree that happened? Do we agree that happened?
I mean, congratulations. Israel's going to
ask yes or no. Do you agree that happened?
That it happened, that Israel has sent warnings sometimes to certain people.
So dropped thousands of leaflets over neighborhoods to warn them to evacuate.
And also has an entire phone bank. They have an entire phone bank dedicated to calling people and telling them to evacuate before they bomb buildings.
Yeah. The question is, why would they do that?
They've also opened humanitarian corridors to allow people to evacuate.
The question is, why would they? Yeah. So what's your name? Petalima. Why would they do that, right? Why would they why would they exceed the requirements by international law to warn civilians and have phone banks with cultural training and allow humanitarian corridors, which I think is not enough. I think they should allow more. I think we definitely should allow more. So, but still, why would they do that? So the aid thing, I'm fine conceding like it because it's required by international law and PR, whatever. Why would they exceed the requirements by international law with leaflets, right? And it's not just like a couple like papers they send one or two people. You should look at the videos. It's literally a plane just dropping a rain of like leaflets saying, "Hey, get away, please evacuate."
Yeah, I
Why
mean,
would they do that? Just the question is why.
probably because they want fucking people to move as easy as possible without. I mean, probably because they want people to move to
Why
get
do
out
they
of the
want the
way.
people to move? Yeah, why do they want
Yeah,
them out
so
of the
they
way?
don't want them to die, right? They don't want them to die.
Them out of Gaza
Say that again.
to move them from the north because there were 1.6 million people, or there were around like 1 million people in North Gaza.
6 million people?
No, one.
Okay,
No,
okay,
I said around
fine,
like
that's
1 million people fled North Gaza into the south, and then it's just from there. Some people moved north again, like some people.
So, can you think of another reason why would they would?
Just in general, they wanted to move people from the north to the south because they.
Why would I agree? That's why you were warned to evacuate. But why did they warn to evacuate?
I
That's what
mean,
evacuation is, right? Moving people, right? But
because they want to, because they want to move them out, so then they could have for a potential plan to occupy the north. Because I remember there were plans, or what they wanted to do was occupy the north, but that's not exactly working out.
I don't know of any plans like that. Maybe you can send them to me. I'm not aware of them. Can we think though of another reason why Israel might want not a lot of civilians in the north and some other like maybe there is some group operating in the north at the time that they wanted to chat with. Can we think of that? Is that a possible reason?
You're talking about Hamas.
Whoa. And the PIJ. Yeah, is that a possible reason?
Well, I mean that to move people out of the north so that they could fight Hamas.
The people who attack, yeah.
Well, I mean, the problem with that is that they have killed loads of people, like a lot of people in the process.
Yeah.
Sure, but it's a war.
In war, which is horrible. But that's not people that do you think there was any war in which civilians didn't die a lot? And so I mean I just don't get the point.
Well, I mean,
why would they exceed the requirements by international law? Something they like no one would have been like Israel should have dropped leaflets if Israel didn't even doing this, right?
I don't even think that they warned at first in the first month. I don't know if they sent any warnings to anybody whenever it was that they started bombing the north. I don't know.
They warned all of northern Gaza to evacuate before they even invaded, and they actually delayed their invasion to allow people.
They warned on day one. I mean, BB literally on day one. We can trace back. We can open the IDF's Twitter. That's the neat thing about the internet. Everything is archived. We can open the IDF's Twitter account and scroll to see what they said on October 7th, right? We can see the statements. I don't like Bibi. I hate him. I think he's a lunatic. But he literally said, civilians in Gaza, please evacuate. It is deep voice. Civilians in Gaza, please evacuate the north. Something like that, right? They warned on day one. Like, yeah. Yeah. Now, you might say, okay, they're required to do that and it's PR. I'm saying, why would they exceed international law in a way that no army that I know of ever did by dropping leaflets and doing the cultural training with the thumbtacks and all this thing? Right? There's a great, if you want to read about this, great institute called the Lieber Institute. They have an article on the duty to warn. You might want to read it. It's a pretty good.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying that we're going to drop leaflets and we're going to warn you, please evacuate. And then the next day, bombs start dropping and then
Mhm.
my house that I was living in was bombed, and my family died. Oh well, you were warned, and oh my god, do you think that that's okay? Even like just because who know like oh
I don't
like
think it's okay to target a house for no reason. Um,
they
I
have
don't
they
think it's. I
destroyed
don't. I think you should. I
80%.
think you should get. Actually, I think you should get something back once the war is over. But no, I don't think it's intrinsically wrong to bomb things in war.
They've blown up and destroyed 80 or 90% of all the infrastructure in North Gaza.
I already went over to you how Hamas operates exclusively out of civilian infrastructure.
Yeah, but okay, but do you think everything 90 to 80%? Do you think that that everything like that much? Even if what you're saying was true, do you think leveling, which they have done, like basically almost the entirety of North Gaza, destroying everything, do you think that would be justifiable?
If it, I mean, attacks can be disproportionate or fail in distinction, but I think Hamas operates exclusively out of civilian infrastructure. Gaza is extremely densely populated, and they also operate out of tunnels, which makes it really hard to do these type of strikes without also damaging civilian infrastructure. So long as they're taking steps to minimize damage to civilian and civilian infrastructure, then yes, absolutely justifiable.
Then you know what? Maybe they shouldn't be bombing the fuck out of the whole of Gaza if it's so densely populated and if so many people are living close together. Maybe it's not such a good idea if they want to reduce civilian casualties to be bombing bombing Gaza the shit everywhere and then killing tens of thousands of people.
But what are they? What is their goal in bombing
So-
Gaza?
Okay, we agree. So here are two things: either Israel bombs or it doesn't bomb after October 7th, and then either Israel warns or it doesn't warn. Okay, you might want to bite the bullet and just say, I think after October 7th, Israel should have literally not bombed, not do anything, and just take it and not go to war. That's fine. That's fine if you want to say that. That's that's a position you can take. That's what I mean. But granted that bombings are going to occur, do you want Israel to warn or do you want them to not warn?
Um, I just think that saying and warning or putting flying a plane over somewhere and then dropping a bunch of leaflets that say evacuate, that's just kind of it's
Get people to evacuate, right? That's probably what it's trying to do.
I mean potentially, but I don't think that still would make a bombing of a civilian area okay. And I
Yeah,
don't
they're protected by international law so long as they're not used outside of civilian purpose, like for military, as long as they're not used for military purposes. So, yeah, if Israel just saw, hey, here's a civilian building, bomb, right? That'd be bad. I agree with you, right? That would be unjust. That would be bad. Now, is that the question I asked?
Okay, you didn't ask that question. You asked, what do I think? Do I think that
Either Israel warns or doesn't warn. Do you want people to warn? Like Israel is going to fight Hamas. That's a given. Okay. You might want to say Israel should not have fought Hamas and literally took October 7th and just stayed quiet. That's fine if you want to say that. But given that Israel is going to attack, do you want them like they're going to attack Hamas, starting with the north? Do you want them to warn or do you want them to not warn?
that they should not. If
I think they should
well, okay. Should what?
Warn them.
warn people before they bomb.
Well, I'm not. I wasn't gonna say. I don't think that they shouldn't warn. Well, I mean, I would say that I don't think that they should bomb Gaza, and I don't think that they should warn people to leave where they're at. I don't think they should do either of that.
Okay. So after October 7th, you wanted Israel to do nothing, right?
Well,
Or what
okay.
is? I guess we're back at the question. What would you have done?
Yeah.
What would you have wanted Israel to do? Do nothing. Do special operations, whatever that means. Do maybe surrender and just I don't know get taken over by Hamas. Like multiple options, like many. Think of whatever. Because I think it's not unreasonable for a country to want to go to war with an organization to just date October 7th to them, right? I think that's reasonable. I think that's not crazy.
Well, I don't. Okay. What would I have done? I am. I will. I don't want to be like in Netanyahu's position. I don't want. I don't want to be in that position.
Okay.
Okay.
So as a
Because-
citizen, what do you think Israel
Okay,
should have
so
done?
whoever would be in that position, or whoever is in that position, let's call him Robert. Robert is now instead of VP, he's the prime minister. What would you have wanted Robert to do?
Is Robert just some random person?
No, he's the prime minister of Israel.
Prime Minister. Oh, okay. Uh, fucking. Uh, shit. Do you? I think Israel shouldn't even be a state, really.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We got
Finally.
there finally.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Do you think the U.S. should be a state?
No.
Was it a no? Was it a yes?
I don't think either. I think the United States needs to be
Abolished.
fucking overthrown and establish a dictatorship of the workers.
Okay. Oh, I would never have guessed. That's shocking. Okay. Glad we can agree.
So what does your solution look like then, Pedamillo?
Solution to what?
The Israel-Palestine crisis. What do you?
Well, the
think should
problem
happen?
is that okay. So a lot of people.
Well, you know, Nonfon. You know. Come on.
A lot of people like to go back and forth in the UN about potentially like a two-state solution. I think what's been proven over the past 75 years, or this last century, however long it is that Israel has existed, Israel does not want to acknowledge Palestinians' right to self-determination. And I think that it's just become abundantly obvious that they just want to block any sort of potential self-determination of Palestinians that they can at any turn. So, I think that there needs to be potentially, I mean, because they have a bunch of illegal settlements in the West Bank, which are illegal. Yeah. That's been increasing. They've been building more illegal settlements. They've been forcing the Palestinians into more and more densely populated enclaves. It's the whole history of Israel is they're a settler colonial state. I mean, that's what Israel is. And I think that what needs to happen potentially is there needs to be one state where it is that anybody, regardless of if you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Palestinian, Jewish, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Not a capitalist.
Anyone should be able.
Yeah, it has to be a dictatorship of the proletariat too.
Well, I mean, yeah, that would also be. Yeah, it should be like that as well. It should be a dictatorship of the workers. It should be, but I mean, what it should. I mean, it needs to be a state, a place where it's not where people aren't under an apartheid and where no one's under an apartheid system. Where, it can't go on. It can't go on as it is that it's been going. It can't.
Amazing. So, like, Israel would never recognize or like want to give Palestinians right of self determination. Like Israel would never offer a state in like 2001, right? Like Israel would. That's something Israel would never try to do, right?
I mean, I don't really think
Come on,
that any of
chat.
the
Come on,
attempts that
Glockhorns. Be
Israel
nice.
has
Be
put
nice,
forward,
chat.
I think, are genuine. I think that it's just, I don't think that they're genuine.
So what was not genuine about Taba?
What is it? What was that?
Taba agreement? Taba summit?
The what summit say again?
So,
The Taba
Taba,
summit.
Taba. It
What was it? What was it?
was after Oslo, right?
Oh,
Oslo, Clinton
and
parameters.
what
Then you have
happened? What
Taba,
happened
and
in
then the second
Oslo?
Intifada.
I do remember like hearing about Oslo agreements, but I don't know exactly what it is that occurred
So,
or what was
to be
agreed
clear,
upon.
you don't actually know whether these
Let me
attempts
think.
were
Let me think
genuine or
if
not.
yeah. So let's say Nonfon fights a lot with his friend. Let's call him I don't know Ron. Okay, and Nonfon and Ron they fight a lot, and I know they talked a month ago and tried to settle things down. Don't you think I should know what non-fund offered him before I say I don't think non-fund was ever genuine? Right? Don't you think I should know like what happened
I mean,
when they talked a month
the
ago?
times whatever it is that I've looked at, how does I've looked at it? I don't like. Okay. Just what was it? What was it? What was the what happened? What was agreed upon?
Well, they offered him. I don't remember the parameters of the state, but it was like the most generous offer
It
in
was
all
over
and like
90% of
history
the
of the
West
conflict.
Bank, and they were compensated with land swaps.
Yeah.
Well, say again. What happened?
They were offered over 90% of the West Bank, and they would be fully compensated with land swaps. Is I think the
Wasn't it like in the 97 range?
yeah, it was wild. Yeah,
Yeah. And
And
do you think they accepted it or rejected it?
I think that they rejected it, and I think that
Hmm.
I mean rightfully. I mean, they probably thought rightfully so that the Israelis weren't being that they don't actually like 90% of the West Bank. So then they would take 10% of the West Bank. In
If they thought Israel wasn't
Israel would
genuine,
annex
why even
3% of the
enter
West
the
Bank.
agreements at all? Yeah, wait. Why get into the talks if you think Israel wasn't genuine in the first place? They could have just not do the talks, right?
I'm not sure,
Like if I
but
think
I
non-fun
don't know
is
exactly why. But I don't.
if non-fun thought Ron one was disingenuous, he would not even talk to him a month ago, right?
I mean, maybe they wanted to negotiate something else, but I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think that they wanted to agree on that.
Yeah, because they didn't.
On like just on 90% of the West Bank.
Right,
And I
97.
mean,
But if you think Israel never, why would Israel even risk them agreeing, right? How bad would Israel look if Israel is like, hey, do you want this generous offer? Or maybe you think it's not generous. Like, look, I can give you the argument you should make here, but whatever. Like it whatever. So Israel offers a state, right? Why would they even risk the Palestinians saying yes if they're so disingenuous, right? Like that doesn't make sense at all. They would just that'd be so bad, right? Like it. I mean, yeah.
maybe they thought that they'd still encroach and put settlements even if they did agree on it.
Well, was that a part of the agreements?
Well, I don't think it's a part of any agreements for the
Do you
illegal.
think the okay? Do you think the offer of the state offer in Taba was allowing Israel to just keep building settlements in the other state?
Um, Probably not.
There's an answer.
But
There's
the
a
thing
correct
is
answer.
that Israel is illegally doing that. I mean, right now. So they'd probably be
I
illegally
know.
doing it if they signed the agreement.
Well, they
Do
probably
you think
would
if
not be
Palestinians had statehood, Israel would still be building settlements in Palestine?
in the
Well,
state.
I
Yeah.
mean, that would be a problem. I mean, that would be an issue if that were the case. Just as it is now.
Wait, why do you think Israel can build settlements right now?
Well, why do I think that they can build settlements? No, I don't think that they can build settlements. It's illegal.
No, I mean, like, why do they have the ability to, though?
Why do they have the ability to? As in, like, why? How is it that they are able to?
Yeah,
I mean,
because they're occupying them, isn't it?
yeah,
So you think if they
yeah.
weren't occupying them, they would still somehow build settlements in a Palestinian
Well,
state?
yeah, they probably find some. They probably still do it. They probably still want to take all the land.
Okay.
So they want to take the land. That's why they offer a state there, right?
So Palestinians should never accept a peace agreement because you think Israel is always just going to try to build settlements, even in a fully sovereign Palestinian state.
Well, it wouldn't be fully sovereign, would it?
Well, that's true.
Well, I mean, if you look at the historical record, you look at what's happened. That
Wait, just before I go to sleep, because I'm going to go to sleep. Do you vote at all?
do I vote? Well,
Yeah.
vote on what?
Like in elections.
In elections?
Well, no, not really, not really. I mean,
Okay.
like,
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Either way, don't worry about it.
But you're not going to
yeah,
vote for Biden.
So Israel wants to take all the land and annex it. That's why they didn't annex it and offer a state there.
that's
Is that the logic?
so. What do you? So,
Mhm.
do you think it would have been better if it was then in 2001 with the Oslo agreements that the Palestinians would agree that okay, we're going to have a state with 90% of the West Bank and with Gaza, and so yeah. Do you think that that would have been a good deal?
Yeah, of course.
How so?
I mean, any agreement would improve things, right? We would have less need for there wouldn't be much terror. Is the settlements would stop, right? I mean, I think peace is generally preferable to conflict.
Well, do you think that that would have stopped everything if they were to agree to have
A
given
lot of things, yeah.
10% of the land of the West Bank, and
It was
then
3%. It was Israel offered 97%.
The thing is that, right, what they're doing right now and installing settlements in the West Bank, that's illegal. So but like you're saying, oh, but they have a state, and then it would. I
Do you
don't think.
think? Okay, wait. Okay, here's the question. Do you think it would have been better or worse if Israel kept building settlements? Better or worse?
Or, worse.
Worse.
It would have been worse if
So if
they.
Israel offered a state, and just assume for a second that when there would be a state, there wouldn't be the settlements. That's a good thing, right? Because
Well, how do you know that there would have been settlements?
that's not what I asked.
What do you ask?
I didn't ask if there would be. I said given that there wouldn't be. Okay, let's assume for a second there wouldn't be settlements in a state of its own. Same way that the U.S. doesn't build settlements in Mexico, right? Presumably, if there's a state, Israel doesn't build settlements in Egypt, right? So here's an example. Israel built settlements in the Sinai when it was occupied. Then they gave the Sinai back
And they
and
tore those
evacuated the
settlements
settlements.
down.
Yeah, right. Like that's an example of them giving back a piece of territory to a state and not building settlements there, right? We can conceive of such a thing. It's even quite likely because they did it in the past. So Israel gives them 97% of the West Bank with land swaps, right? The entire offer of Taba, which evades my memory right now, right? And there are no more settlements. Given that you agreed a minute ago that it would be better to stop the settlements, wouldn't that be a good thing? To stop the settlements during a state, right? Because there is a state there. I think there's a clear answer.
But how do you know that them being given the right to statehood by Israel would stop the building of settlements?
Because it's a state. Can the U.S. build settlements in Mexico? Did Israel build settlements in Sinai after they give it back?
But that's like presuming. That's presuming. But it's already illegal.
What evidence do you have that they would have?
But what if they would have stopped? If they would have stopped, if it was like, okay, Israel is going to stop. Okay, if you are given, we're going to give you statehood. We're going to give you the right to statehood. you can keep 90% of the West Bank, and then that's what we're doing is presuming. Okay, we're going to presume that Israel stops building settlements, presuming that if they were to have agreed in 2001 that okay, that this is just an assumption, it's a hypothetical scenario, because me personally, I think that they still, even if they were to agree to statehood, Israel will probably still build settlements or try to, because they would probably not recognize the agreement anyway. But I think that if it was that they were to have said, "Hey, we're going to retract all the settlements in the 2001 agreement, and we're not going to build any more settlements within the West Bank," even then, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure because I don't think
This is so obvious. I'm sorry. This is so obvious that when you offer from the state.
if I was in that situation, I don't think I would trust Israel.
Do you think when they said no, do you think they said no because I think you're making up a reason and trying to defend this is so obviously false, okay? Trying to be respectful, but this is so obviously false. They never said when they justified why they said no to the Taba, they never said, "Oh, we cannot trust Israel to not build settlements in our fucking state." Okay? No one ever said that. There's no precedence at all for Israel wanting to build settlements in a sovereign state. Israel gave the Sinai back and they stopped the settlements, right? Israel evacuated Gaza and still have the settlements. It was presumed in Taba, right? Israel literally the 3% of the West Bank that would be annexed to Israel are the big settlements blocks, right? Because they would not keep going with settlements, right? They would just stop where the big settlements block are and stop there, right?
Okay, well, what is it that you're saying?
I'm saying it's absurd to think Israel would have kept building settlements after giving them a state. There's literally no one, even not Finkelstein or anyone on the Palestinian side is
I don't
arguing
think I've
this.
ever heard
Not
someone
Khalidi,
argue
not
that before.
Finkelstein,
well, I don't know. We were just talking. We were just
Ahmad.
talking about settlements, and I'm just saying that personally. But
Okay, yeah. So I think
Okay.
that's absurd. Yeah. Well, so Israel. Okay. So assuming for a second, right? Okay. Do we agree that Israel gave back the Sinai and then build settlements into fucking Egypt after giving back the Sinai? Right? We agree on that.
yeah, I don't think that there's settlements in Sinai.
Yeah, but they did build settlements in Sinai when they had it.
Well, I didn't know that. I think until now.
Yeah, they did,
And
and then they tore them down.
gave back the Sinai to Egypt for peace with Egypt.
Yeah. Yeah, so isn't that kind of big evidence that they would have presumably done the same in a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza? So
well,
I think it would have been better for the Palestinians. Wait, so okay, here's a future. Okay, would you say it would have been good? Suppose I teleport you to a future now, or to a present now, where there's a Palestinian state, settlements are not being built there. The Gaza Strip is not controlled by Hamas, but it's controlled by a democratic Palestinian state. Okay, and now there are presumably no terror attacks within Israel, right? Presumably there are no more settlements being built, right? And didn't they offer also at Taba some joint control of East Jerusalem? Could be wrong.
I don't know. It gets complicated because there were so many offers and counter offers.
Yeah, sure. So stuff like that. Would you say that would have been good? Because if you say yes, that's Taba. That's what the Palestinians turned down. Now you might want to say, well, what about the right of return? Well, why not all the West Bank? Well, though, there are so many other reasons you can say, but don't at least on what I'm saying. Obviously that's a big benefit, right? Obviously that's a pretty good thing. What I mentioned so far.
So can you wait? Say what you said again, because you said a lot in.
Don't worry. It's just clearly if the Palestinians accepted Taba, we would have been in a better future. Hamas would not control the West Bank, so Palestinians in Gaza right now would not leave dictatorship, right? Palestinians would have a state with sovereignty. Settlements would stop, right? and the conflict would have been greatly reduced if not ended.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know what would have happened if in 2001 they were to have agreed on that agreement, but
Okay, so
I do
You
not.
can't, you can't even make a
Not even the
guess.
Palestinians thought this. Why would the Palestinians, if Israel is so two-faced, so slimy, so whatever, why would the Palestinians even go to the summit? Why would they be like, no, we don't even want to talk to you because we can have no confidence in whatever you're doing. That's not what the
Look,
Palestinians say.
I'm not a Palestinian official. Like, I don't know all of the intricacies of everything that's going on about
Doesn't
how it
it just
is.
seem likely that Israel would have followed through? Doesn't it just kind of seem likely?
Say again.
Well, wouldn't it, presumably Israel would have followed through with the offer that in the summit, right? Because the Palestinians wanted to go to the summit. Probably there was some good faith on both sides.
So, okay, you said you think that in 2001, if they were to agree to the agreement to establish a Palestinian state, where it is that they would keep 90% of the West Bank in control of them, and Gaza were to be in control of a so-called democratic state, or whatever. And then if they were to have agreed to that, then we would have been in a better place now. I think that that is. I think that is. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it just simply would have been better. I think that it would have. Maybe it would have. What I mean, maybe what would have happened, or they probably Israel would have even more control over those territories, and even more control over those territories if it was that they might have agreed to the agreements. If that
Why
was
would they offer a state? Okay, so do you think Israel right now has? Okay, so either suppose I don't know, clap my hands, and now there's a state in the West Bank, a Palestinian state in 97% of the West Bank. Would that give Israel more or less control over the West Bank?
okay. Clap your hands and say again.
Like I clap my hands, and tada, there is a state now in the West Bank. Okay,
Yeah,
would that give Israel more or less power to occupy the West Bank?
probably less.
So it's not true that they would have the Taba Summit would have given Israel more control over the West Bank, right? Because they offered a state.
Well, I mean, I think that Fatah is already like just a proxy of like Israeli control in the West Bank. So I mean, if they were to have established a state by Israel's standards, it might be even worse, potentially.
So Fatah with Arafat, the terrorist guy who literally was caught with like terrorists in his car in Gaza at the
Freedom
time.
fighters.
Sure. What if Fatah is controlled opposition? Why give them a state? Right now, the people there can vote. Right. If he's a stooge, why give the people the ability to decide? I mean, don't you think that's contradictory?
You mean in the West Bank?
Now, yeah, like suppose if they were controlled opposition, they would not have offered a state, right? Because the state has elections, and elections are done by people. So it's the people there would have decided, not the stooges.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying no, it's not true that Fatah was just controlled opposition.
Well, I mean,
Even
when Arafat was alive, no, but now it is.
well, we're talking about Taba. Arafat was alive.
Well, I mean, then they decided no on that agreement, and was it probably was for the best for the Palestinians' self determination. I mean, probably. I mean,
Yeah, look at how much self
I don't know
determination they have
everything.
now. Clearly,
I don't know everything about what was in the agreements, but if they were to have agreed on that by Israel's agreeing on Israel's standards of that agreement that, okay, they will be given the right to statehood, and then Gaza, there will be some sort of authority put into Gaza, and I think it's questionable how much it like. I think it's questionable how much
Okay.
how much right they would actually the Palestinians would actually how much sovereignty they would actually have over their own country.
Do you think the blockade would exist if they had a state,
Um,
or at least be less severe?
I think I think it's a possibility that could be, because I mean then Israel would be in more control over that area if it was they would have signed that agreement potentially. But yeah, so it maybe they wouldn't be blockaded, but in 2006 whenever Hamas was elected and they didn't like Hamas, so then that wasn't the result that they wanted, and then they started the blockade, and then I think George Bush was mad, and they just decided, okay, we're gonna start, we're gonna put Gaza on a blockade.
Okay. Before I go to sleep because I'm tired, why do you care so much about the conflict then if you don't know much about uh,
Well,
any
I
part of
don't
its
know.
system?
I don't
You
know.
seem to
I
talk
don't
about
know,
it on
like,
stream a lot.
The specifics. I don't know everything about specifics, but you don't know. You don't have to know like a lot about these specific events to care about what's going on in Gaza right now.
Well, but okay, do you care about other
I mean, but
catastrophes in the world
I
now?
just want to say, like, your entire personality right now is Israel Palestine. Like, every time you stream, it's Palestinian statehood now, and you have the Palestinian flags.
That's just for awareness. That's for awareness.
Sure.
Like,
Okay, wait. Okay, if it's for awareness, are you aware of like what's going on in
am I aware of say again?
of what's going on in Sudan right now?
Sudan. Uh, not everything. Not everything. Not everything.
Some of it. Are you aware of some of it? Because they're like that's categorized as even more severe than what's going on in Gaza by multiple third parties.
Yeah, here you
Well,
have
It's
a
like one of the biggest
video,
crises in the world right now.
death to
Yeah, I think
fascism,
there's-
and then you have an
there's
Israeli
Sudan.
flag burning, and you have the logo of Hezbollah, you have the flag of Palestine,
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
boots on the
we
Israeli
know Hezbollah,
flag.
don't we? Yeah, I mean, so I think it's unlikely that it's to raise awareness.
Well, it
Because
is.
you don't seem to be raising awareness for other catastrophes, right? Maybe
Do
there's
you like
another
have
reason.
a
I mean, I think
donation
that-
link to Palestinian organizations or something? Do you like donate to Palestine at all?
Like donate like $10 to UNRWA.
Oh no, I love UNRWA. I love UNRWA so much. I love UNRWA so much. Look, but so if it's to raise awareness because you care about people's lives, why do you not care about people's lives in Sudan? Or at least you don't seem to know
Well,
about.
I mean, I
I
do,
know.
but that's not that. Just because I'm like focusing mainly on that doesn't mean that I don't care about like them.
Well, I mean, you don't seem to. Well, no, you gave me the reason of I care about people's life, but it doesn't seem like you care about. Like it's not very consistent, is it? Right? Like, suppose you had someone who's like, I'm an anti-rape advocate, and they only talk about rape by black people, right? They seem to ignore rape by white people. But don't you think there's something else going on? I would. Right?
Like
They're like, no, I do care about the rape done by white people, but I
maybe.
only talk exclusively about the black people doing rape. Don't you think that's bizarro?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean that could be.
The hell?
That could be. And if they had a
Dude.
black person join the call, no, I'm joking. I'm not going there. They would be like, "What? You're black?" No, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Don't worry about it. I just think it's bizarre. Okay, but maybe reflect. Maybe donate to Sudan. Okay, they need your help. And yeah, I'm gonna go to Bye Nonfon. This was really fun. I like this a lot.
Don't worry. You can.
Yeah.
Also, wait. No, never mind. I'll DM you when I need it. Bye bye.
All right. You can join anytime, buddy. Anytime I stream. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But before we go, I just you live in America, right?
Yes.
Well, you're not, but you don't vote.
I mean, vote on what exactly? Because I
Are
mean,
you
the
gonna
next
vote this November?
for war criminal number 1 or war criminal number 2.
I mean, you could vote third party if you really wanted to. But are you gonna
Well,
vote in general?
I am. I I don't give a shit about if Joe Biden or Trump wins, because one of them is going to win, and I think that at this rate, with what Joe Biden has allowed to happen, I mean, I think that Joe Biden is probably going to lose at this rate, and it'll be the Democrats and Joe Biden's own fault. And I mean, like they,
Who do you think would put more pressure on Israel, Biden or Trump?
oh my God. I think that who
Do you
would put
think
more pressure?
Do you think Trump would be calling for a ceasefire like Biden's been calling for a ceasefire now?
No, but he hasn't been though. But that he hasn't been for the past like 4 or 5 months. It only took him like how long? Like how long? 5, 6 months, 5 months? How many people dead? How many more people haven't been counted on the list of people dead? How many people have died? Like, okay, it's March, it's April 5th. After months of Israel committing the worst crimes imaginable, they like they now he's calling for a ceasefire. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
but
gonna give that.
that wasn't my question. It's like, do you think Trump would be doing that if he was president?
I think that probably if Trump was president, he'd be doing the same thing. Maybe worse, maybe not worse. It might depend. It really depends on what APAC wants. It depends on what APAC decides.
You know what? No, I don't agree with you there, actually. I think what the president does actually does affect Israeli policy. I think the only reason Netanyahu delayed his invasion into northern Gaza was probably because of pressure from the Biden administration. I think the reason Israel is finally opening more crossings into Gaza for aid is because of the Biden administration. I think all of these things are things that Trump probably wouldn't do, and I think if you care about Palestinian people, you should vote for Joe Biden.
Well, okay, congratulations, Joe Biden. Like 30,000 people have died. Like 70,000 people have been injured. Probably way more have died because there's probably more people under the rubble, but they don't even know about it. There's been countless massacres. Good job, Biden, for finally fucking letting in some more aid trucks or whatever. Like, congratulations, Biden. Like, I'm not gonna praise Biden for that. Biden doesn't deserve anybody's praise for what he's allowed.
Well, just to be clear, we talked about this earlier, but your position is that Israel should have done nothing after October 7th, and Israel doesn't even have a right to exist.
No, but,
so,
okay, honestly,
that
I don't
position,
know.
you can talk all you want, but that position is never going to get anywhere in Congress. No one is ever going to be elected president with that position because that's an insane fucking position. So, if you want what's best for Palestinian people,
instead of asking what Israel should have done, how about we should be asking what the Palestinians should have done? Of course.
Okay,
what
that's
Israel,
easy. I think Hamas should surrender and release all the hostages.
What Israel's going to do what they've been doing for the past 75 years. They're going to keep doing that. They're going to keep pushing
I
more.
forgot. This was we went over this earlier, but I forgot your position is that if Hamas surrendered and released all the hostages, Israel would just keep bombing civilians for no reason. I forgot that you think that's true.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially? Okay. I mean, you already said that was true earlier on. Like, I don't know, you can say that say that all you want, but I just don't think it's true. Yeah, well, it's been a great conversation. I'm sure we'll talk more later. You can stay in the server if you wanna. And if you ever see me streaming and you disagree about something, you could come on in and we can yell at each other.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of yelling at each other and like yelling
I was being hyperbolic, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather actually have like a conversation where we're actually talking. We actually have been talking. It wasn't like with the guy in here. It wasn't as bad as I thought. No, okay, it wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't that bad. He wasn't. He wasn't that bad. He wasn't as bad as. He wasn't being like he was earlier. But yeah, it was good. It was okay.
Okay.
It was okay. But yeah, just what Israel's doing right now is a genocide, and they need to stop. They need to stop.
All right. Well, I'll give you the last word on that, but I'm gonna go now, man.
Okay.
Well, bye.
Thank-
I'm glad I opened his mind, and he said that person wasn't that bad, because when he first spoke and said he's Israeli, the guy literally just went, "Oh my God, he's Israeli? That tells me everything I need to know about you." Yeah, Jesus Christ, man. Jesus. I'm gonna be honest. I was a little worried because I agreed to these debates, right? And then I got up late. And I have all my notes here, which I took like a little bit ago. So like I didn't remember everything. And I was like, oh fuck. I wonder if these people are gonna pull something up that like I don't know. During both those debates, they didn't know anything. The first guy didn't know what the pre-67 borders were, and he literally couldn't get it around his head what they were. That entire fucking time. We spoke for like 3 hours. He couldn't understand borders the entire time. He didn't know what proportionality was. He didn't know what the additional protocol 1 was. And the second guy we talked to also didn't know shit. I don't mean he's probably still watching. Sorry, I it's fine not to know the specifics of stuff, but like yeah, he didn't know. He didn't know that like the land for peace that Israel and Egypt did. He didn't know. He didn't know stuff like we just yeah.